All right, so we're now recording. We're live and recording. All right, we're gonna get started in exactly 2 minutes. If we don't have people, if others don't join by then, we'll have to move forward. Is audio bad? Can someone else confirm? Is audio bad or is it good? I do not hear. Okay, audio is good. All right, cool. Not bad. All right, cool. So audio is good. It's probably from the your end. Okay. All right, we have some confirmations that audio is good. All right. 2 more minutes. Let's see how many more join, and then we'll get started. Let's say 2-3 minutes. Okay. If you're just joining, please make sure you're logged into the AWS console, and also you have the drive open. So I already put the link in the chat. Let me paste it one more time to the drive. So have that opened. We're gonna grab the code for today and put it in S3. And put it in S3. Okay. Let's see, where's everyone joining from? Let me see if we have some people from outside of the US. New York. All right, I see New York. Where else? Oh, that's US. Atlanta is US. I want to see anything outside of US. Cameroon, there you go. Cameroon. Again, we have Cameroon. We have Canada. Excellent. I think I can hear some echo. Whoever's not on mute, if you can please go on mute. I thought I mute everyone. Or maybe I didn't choose that option today. I must have forgotten to choose it. Please mute your audio. Please check your audio, everyone. If you can hear me, check your audio and make sure that it's on mute, please. Okay, I think it's gone now. All right, cool. Thank you. Oh, California, that's US. California, that's US. Anywhere else outside of US? Chicago is US, guys. Are you sharing your screen yet? No, I'm not sharing my screen yet. I'll share it in 1 minute. Adel, alaikum salam. Toronto, okay. There's Canada. Very good. All right. I guess, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So let me go here now and share my screen. Okay, share screen. Which one do I want to share? This one. All right, type 2 if you can see my screen. Type the letter 2 if you can see my screen. Okay, I said the letter 2. All right, good. Okay, so moving on, guys. If you're in your AWS console, let's go ahead now. Let's first take a look at the drive. Okay, here's what we're going to be working with today. All right, let me go back. So you all should see this kind of interface when you open the drive, right? So this is what we're going to be working with today. Dynamic site with DB. Dynamic site with DB. Let me go ahead and open that. So go ahead and open this. Okay, and then this is the one we want. Dynamic prod. All right, this is the one we want. Dynamic prod. Now, I know sometimes when you watch tutorials, everybody's making, easy examples with just one index.html file. From the beginning of these sessions, I've tried to stay away from that, right? I've tried to be more realistic with, it's not usually one file, index.html, this is a test page. That's not usually how it happened. As you guys have seen so far, we've taken like websites that look complete, right? With multiple files that you have to put in your HTML folder if you're using Apache, right? Like we've been doing. Right, multiple files that makes up the website, not just one index.html file, right? Now that's been great, but I wanted to take a step further today, right? Because remember, this hands-on sessions is to make you feel confident when you get that cloud engineer job, or that solutions architect or cloud architect or whatever the company calls it, right? That cloud job, right? So all of this is to give you that confidence that you're able to do all of these things and, you know, carry out the duties and responsibilities of your role. So in today's session, what we want to do now is not just only taking multiple files that makes up a website, right? Which is more realistic than anything else, right? Oh, am I recording? Yes, I'm recording. Thanks for checking. Yeah. So now what we want to do is we want to take a code now, right? Our developers, let's say our company now has developed another application, right? Maybe for another client or something, right? Now they said we need to host this on AWS, right? Remember, our company moved away from doing things on premises. Right now, everything we do is in the cloud, right? If you're new to these sessions, please watch from week 1. You can still stay for this session, but if you're a little bit lost with any of these things, please watch from week 1, and then you should be able to catch up in. So far, it's you know, we're not. This is week 7, okay? So just try to follow from week 1 after this session, and then you should be able to catch up well with everything we're talking about, okay? But no worries, stay and still watch this. You still find it beneficial. So yeah, our company has developed another application. We need to host it on the cloud and AWS, right? Now, the good thing about this is we're going to get even more realistic, whereby this dynamic application has a backend, right? And that backend is MySQL, right? It has a database. Let's just say it that way, right? We have an application today that our developers have built. Remember, as cloud architects, you don't have to be a developer. You don't have to know code. But if you know one coding language or two, it's great, right? It's also, it makes you stand out, right? And that's why I put one there in just to teach you like the basics of Python, right? In my article, right? And I'll share the links to the article again later today for those that are new. So with that said, right, our developers who you know, in our company, they do what they do best, right? Write this application, write these web applications, and we as a solutions architect, we design how we're going to host that application so that when it's live, you know, no matter how much traffic the application gets, we built it in a way that is what? Secure and what? There's a word that I'm looking for. Secure, and someone help me out in the chat, right? As a solutions architect, you built in a way that is secure and remember, resilient. Good. I like resilient, but give me another one. Give me another one. Come on, guys. You know this. Scalable. Scalable. Good. Another one. I know someone will get it. I know someone will get it. Quickly, guys. There you go. Highly available. Fault tolerance is good. I like that as well. Highly available is the word I'm looking for. You hear this a lot in the industry, right? Highly available. You want to make sure that your website never crashes no matter what, right? So you build that, add in auto scaling, add in load balancer and all that to make it fault tolerant, resilient, all those, you know, all those words that you guys were throwing out. Great, right? Those are the things you look for as a solutions architect when you are hosting that application. Your developers don't want to worry about that, right? They don't wonder about infrastructure, you know, maintaining and all that. No, you know, they just want to worry about the code, right? And make sure that once you host it, it works as expected. And then you have, you know, for larger enterprises, or, you know, you have QA testers, you know, those who will test, regression testing, test that application or that software to make sure that, you know, it works, it's working as expected, right? So today we have the application already tested, everything works fine. Now we need to host it, guys. We need to host it. We're not going to do auto scaling today. Auto scaling and all that, you guys can apply that from now on, right? Now that you know how to do auto scaling, load balancer, you guys can go back after these sessions and try to add that to what? To this application that we host. So now we're just going to focus on, let's just put it on EC2, right? Let's put it on a web server and host it and make sure we're able to see it, okay? So with that said, we're not going to do load balancer again and auto scaling, but those are things you should know, right? If you're going into production, think about those. Think about those. All right, guys, let's grab this code now and put it in the S3 bucket, right? But again, I think I forgot to mention the main important thing today is that this website has a database. So that means that our company had our database administrators, right? Or database, what do you call them? DBAs, database administrators, or database engineers, right? They provisioned and built the database, right? But in today's world, companies are opting for managed database services. Okay, guys, I wouldn't recommend, if you get a job, that you build a database on top of a server from scratch, right? There's a lot of maintenance overhead when you do that. So let's say you're about to have an application like this, right? You're going to have your web servers, right? Which you're going to install Apache and all that. Now remember, this application for today is going to talk to a database, right? This is what takes us to another level here. This application talks to a database. In this case, you know, our developers, let's just say our developers in this case, or maybe we had DBAs who did it, right? There's a database involved here, right? Now, for today's session, we are going to create the database, but in reality, this might have already been created even by the developers or your developers working with the DBAs to get that, you know, available. So, but in today's case, we are going to do it because we are the cloud experts here, and we know how to quickly launch a database to use with an application. Okay, so this is a very good skill to know as a solutions architect, right? Creating databases, and it's very, very easy in today's world, right? Before, if there are any DBAs here, you know, companies hire people that are just dedicated to maintaining databases and making sure they work optimally, you know, and they're resilient and all that, and you know, and they troubleshoot a lot with the databases and backups and all that. But today with the cloud, you give that to the what? To the cloud provider. For example, in this case, AWS, right? AWS has a service called Relational Database Service, right? RDS. Guys, with a simple few clicks in the console, we're gonna launch a database without even being database experts. We launch a database and we just get a URL, right? And we get our username and password that we're gonna give the application, and that way we're gonna have an application that is running that has a database connected to it. Okay, so by ourselves now, without even being DBAs, right? Without being experts in databases, we're going to launch a database with AWS's RDS service, and that database has been built to integrate with our application, so that when our application collects information, it stores it inside of the database. Okay, so in terms of getting realistic with this demos that I'm doing, this one is a very important one today, right? This is how realistic things get in the real world. Okay, it's not just I know, like I said, some of us watch some tutorials out there and it's just one simple file. This is a test page. You know, I don't like to do that, as you guys have seen from my demos so far in the previous week. So let's do that again today. Let's take another application that is full, like complete. You have multiple files that makes up this new web application that our company, quote unquote company, is trying to now host, right, on the cloud, in the cloud. So let's go ahead now. I want us to right click this dynamic prod, right click that dynamic, and click on download. Okay, click on download. We're gonna grab this and put it in our folder on our computer, as we've always done in the past weeks. Okay, so it's loading. Mine has downloaded. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and show in folder. I'm gonna grab that, Control X that. I'm gonna look for my folder, the folder on our desktop. Don't worry about this, my files, like I always say everywhere. This is my own. You guys should have like this other stuff in your folder. Okay, so these source code examples where we put our web applications on our computer before we put it inside of S3. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this. I'm gonna double click this. Okay, these were the other sites that we hosted last time. Let's paste that that folder that we just downloaded. Okay, let's paste that folder that we just downloaded. I think it didn't grab the first time. Let me grab it now. Close this. In that folder on our desktop, paste it, and now let's extract. Okay, let's extract it. I'm gonna extract all. It's giving me this, so I'm gonna say extract. Okay, very good. Now I'm gonna grab this. Now I'm gonna Control X this page, Control X this folder, and then go back and paste it. Okay, so now I have this dynamic prod here. Okay, I can delete this one that was down that I got before. I can delete those. I hope you guys know exactly what I'm doing so far. I'm just extracting and grabbing this file that I need, this dynamic prod. Okay, delete. Someone please paste the link of the Google Drive again. Someone is asking for the link to the Google Drive. Rehab, if you look up, it's already there. Yeah, if you look up, it's right there. Someone just posted it. Thank you, Saidul. All right, now I want to change the name. I'm thinking this is it, right? This is what we Is this what we download? No, this is it. Dynamic prod. Let's just leave the name like that. We'll change it when we get to S3. All right, guys. Now that you have type the number 5. If you have this folder now in your source code examples. Good. Awesome. So don't forget the name, dynamic prod. Okay, this is the data. This is the one that connects. This is an application that actually needs a database created. This is an application that actually needs a database created, and we're going to do that for it. We're going to do that, and we're going to give it the database information to connect to. All right, guys, let's give credit to who credit is due. Remember, I said I'm not a developer. This is a publicly available example that we're using today. It was created by this lady called Tanya. Let me see if I can find it this way. Okay, here it is. Okay, part 2. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so this is the application that we're going to use. It's on GitHub. Okay, don't worry if you don't know what GitHub is today. It's just a place where people store source code files. So this is the application. She built this and she made it publicly available. So we're going to use this, and this application needs to connect to a database. So this is the application we're going to use. We're going to try to host on AWS. You can find the source code you can find the source code on GitHub, and I've already downloaded it. Okay, I've already downloaded. That's what we're downloading now. All right, so I'm going to close that. Tanya Raskia, if you're watching this sometime in the future, thank you. I'm giving you credit because this source code I found was from you. All right, good, guys. Moving on. So management console. Let's go to AWS management console. We want to put that code now in S3. We want to put it in S3 so we can, use our user data, right? Change the S3 bucket name, and we'll have our instance running with that server, with that code. If you know what I mean from what we've been doing so far. But don't worry, we're going to do it one by one now. All right. So let's go ahead and click on services. Let's go to S3 and drop that code inside of S3. Let's go and drop that code inside of S3. Okay. Now, these are sites from before. Remember I said last week, at least leave this new site MK. Leave it always in. Don't delete. If you delete every other one that we used in the previous weeks, that's fine. But leave this one. Okay. And now today we're going to add another one, right? Site with database. I think we should call it site with database. Okay. So let's go ahead and click on create bucket, guys. Let's go ahead and click on create bucket. Create bucket. Now let's call this site with DB. How about that? I'm guessing someone in the world has taken this name before, but let's fingers crossed. Let's see. Please, guys, don't use this name. Let me be able to use it. Remember, if you create this bucket before me, I won't be able to use this name anymore. Okay. S3 bucket names are unique globally. Don't ever forget that. That's a big exam, question that you might find, right? Remember to know that bucket names are unique globally. Okay. So we're gonna leave Northern Virginia. Okay. We're gonna block all public access. Yes. Bucket versioning disable. We don't need that now. Server-side encryption. Choose enable here and just leave that as Amazon S3, just like we've been doing so far. And then what else? We're not going to enable object lock. Let me go ahead and create bucket. Yes, the name has been taken. Well, I'm going to trust that it's nobody from you guys that took the name, but that's fine. All right, I'm just going to add my first and last name. Sites with DB MK. How about that? Taken? You're kidding me. Let me put dash. No. How about I add another MK and I create bucket name must not contain. Oh, okay, there you go. Oh, maybe that would actually have worked. I was using uppercase. How did I forget that? Okay, site with DB. Let me see if that will work now. Great. Okay, so nobody in the world took that name already. Okay, good. So site with DB. I got that name, guys. You can just add your initials because I've taken it. You guys cannot take it now. So add your initials in the front. Or something, unique that will make it unique. So I have that. Now I'm going to open. Now, before we move on, type the number 7. If you've created that bucket, type the number 7 so we can move on. Very good. Moving on. Site with DB. Let me go ahead and click on site with DB. Okay. So now I'm inside of that. I'm going to drag and drop my files in here. So let me go to my folder on my desktop computer. Okay. So this is my folder that we all should have on our desktop, and we downloaded that code here, right? Okay, so now we want to grab all of this. Okay, all of these files and folders that our developers created all of this. Okay, our developers created all of this, but there's something I'm forgetting here. We need to give this we need to change something in here first. Right? Since we are the one creating the database, right, we're going to learn about AWS databases here. We need to create the database first, so we can we can change it in here. I'm going to open this config file with Notepad. Let me say open with Notepad. More apps, Notepad. Okay, guys, I'm opening that config file here. Oh man, I closed it. Open with Notepad. Here's what we're gonna do. Now guys, this config file right here in this application folder, our developers, remember, created all of this because all of this makes up the website, right? Or the web application. Now we need to change these things here. Okay, we need to change these things here. All right, we need to change all of this information here. All right, this is the database you want to connect to. This is an example from a long time ago. Okay, this is the database you want to connect to. This is the username for the database, and this is the password for the database. Okay, this is the password for the database. Now in this case, we need to get all of this information now by creating a database in AWS. So let's go now and create a database in AWS. Let's go ahead and create a database in AWS. We're going to get new information now for that database that we have created, and we're going to plug it in here. We're going to plug it in here and change these values. Remember, these values are from a previous testing that I was doing. Okay, so let me go ahead and minimize this or close it. Doesn't matter. Close. Let's go now. Leave your bucket. Don't drag the files now. Let's make sure we change that config file first. Okay, we want to make sure that we change this config file first before we upload it into the S3 bucket. So that way the config file is already updated with the right database we need to use. All right, so let's go down to services. Don't leave this page. Just duplicate the tab, or just open a new tab. But I'm just gonna duplicate. Okay, and now I'm gonna go to RDS. Okay, when you click on services, guys, just type RDS. If you're looking for a service, remember that's the easiest way to do it. Just search for it. So I'm just gonna type RDS, meaning Relational Database Service. Okay, let's go ahead and click on that. Let's go ahead and click on Relational Database Service. Okay, I have 0 databases here. You guys should also have 0 databases. And then I'm gonna click on. Don't click on this create database here. This is gonna make you try to create Amazon Aurora. Amazon Aurora is AWS's, should I say, proprietary database. It's AWS created this database engine, if I may call it, but it's compatible with MySQL and PostgreSQL. For some of you that are new to IT and you're just learning all of this, some of these names might be new to you. But don't forget, in the article that I shared with you guys, there's a YouTube video to teach you some basics of MySQL. So you can watch that later on. But for now, we just have to know that there are different types of databases, right? Database engines, as we call them, right? Microsoft has one. This one is created by Amazon. Okay, Aurora is Amazon's proprietary database service or engine. But it uses open source databases, right, in the back end, if we may say, right? So in that case, remember, Microsoft has its own database engine. AWS has its own. Instead of saying engine, maybe let's just say types, right?
Yeah, just say types.
Types, yeah, exactly. Yeah, types. So Microsoft has its own type. Amazon has its own type. There are what we call open source ones as well. Okay, open source meaning it's free for the community, right? You don't need licenses. You just download it and you start using it, right? And the two popular ones are MySQL and PostgreSQL. Okay, MySQL and PostgreSQL. Okay, so now this Aurora, it actually uses MySQL and PostgreSQL database. Okay, so just think about this now, guys. Like, there are 6 types of database that you need to know. okay, database types that you need to know, right? And you're going to see that in the console. So I just want to make sure that we clarify this first, right? Now, for our applications, our developers have told us we're going to be using MySQL, that they built this website to use MySQL type database, okay? Not Oracle, not Microsoft, not Aurora, MySQL. Although if we use Aurora, it will work. If we use Aurora and we choose MySQL, it'll work. But we're not going to choose Aurora. Why? Because AWS does not provide a free tier for Aurora. But they do allow us to use MySQL directly, okay? And you're going to see that in the console. Let's just go ahead and do that now, okay? Let's go ahead and click on databases. Let's go ahead and click on databases, okay? I see I'm clicking databases on the left here. Click on databases and then click on create database. Click on create database. Remember, don't click that one on the top. Just follow exactly what I'm doing, okay? Because that one would automatically take you to what? To creating an Aurora database. We don't want that, right? Now it's saying here, choose engine type, right? Choose the engine type. There's MySQL, there's MariaDB, there's Microsoft SQL Server, there's Oracle, there's PostgreSQL. So I was also correct by saying engine type. So engine type, database type, whatever one you use, that's fine, okay? Now remember I said this one is created by who? Guys, in the chat, because I know this is very important. In the chat, who created this one, guys? This Amazon Aurora right here, who created it? AWS. Very good. Okay, it's AWS's. Now MySQL and PostgreSQL, general, public. You can download it and you have a database engine. You know how to configure it. You can set it up on a server and you're good. You have a working database. Okay. Oracle, obviously created by Oracle. Microsoft, obviously created by who? By Microsoft. So in this case, we're going to use an open source type, and this is very popular in the industry, right? Many companies take this open source database engines and they use it for their applications in production, right? They use it for the applications. You know, they make sure they build some type of backup with it, and use other tools to just make it robust and work the way they want it. Okay, because some of these other types of databases, their licenses are very expensive, right? Oracle, Microsoft. So companies try to save costs by using open source tools. Now AWS is saying, even if you want to use open source engines, right? How about we give you Aurora, right? Whereby you have more capabilities with Aurora. But we're not going to use Aurora today. There are benefits to using Aurora, and if you're going to take any of the AWS exams, you should look into that, right? The benefits of using Amazon Aurora. We're not going to talk about that in this session. All right. So choose MySQL, guys, and then let's move forward. Choose MySQL. We're choosing MySQL. Leave the version to the version that's there. Don't choose production. Choose free tier. Okay. Choose free tier. We want to choose free tier. All right. Let's just give this database a name so that when we go into the console, we'll know what name we gave it. So let's call it what name should I give it? AppDB. Let's call it AppDB. Okay, the database for our app. Okay, let's just call it AppDB. I do not have MySQL on my console. Rehab, you might have clicked on something else. Okay, we haven't gone far. Let me just go back to the. Click on databases again, guys. Click on databases. Click on databases. Click on create database. Click on create database. Okay, you see what I just did? And then go ahead and choose MySQL. That's what we've done so far. Nothing. So choose on MySQL and then leave the version. That's what we've done. All right, moving on. Free tier. Now I'm getting this error. We'll listen to your feedback. I think it's because I really see this error code throttling. Why am I being throttled? I get that. I think it's because maybe we were creating before and we didn't cancel or something. Let's try that again. Let us try that again. MySQL. Okay, I'm choosing MySQL. All right, free tier. Don't throttle me now. Okay, it's working. All right, database AppDB. All right, credentials. Do not forget this. You're gonna use it in that config file, guys. Remember, we're creating the database here. All right, we need these credentials to be able to plug into our web the source code. Okay, to use. Now for username inside of the database, we're gonna create. There's a user that's gonna be able to use that database, right? The credentials to be able to use that database. We need to provide it here. So I'm just gonna leave that as admin. Okay, and I'm gonna give it a unique password. All right, I'm gonna give it a unique password. Okay, don't forget the password you give it, guys. I'm not gonna tell you guys my password, and I'm not gonna show you in the console which password I'm gonna plug in. Okay, so you guys are I'm just gonna show you how to do it, and then you guys can add the password that you create. Okay, so don't forget this, guys. Credential settings is very important. I'm saying it now. Do not forget what you plug in these places at the end of this. Do not forget this. So I'm choosing admin as the username. Okay, and I'm giving it a password. Okay, I'm gonna type the password again. Okay, let me hope they match. Okay, they do match. I didn't get an error. So password, and then confirm the password again. All right, just to make sure nobody's still getting any errors, can I get some 9s in the chat? So I know that you guys are still following. Okay, very good, very good, very good. All right, now moving on. Some options are taken away because we chose free tier. So with free tier, there's something that you cannot use, like multi-AZ. Don't worry about what multi-AZ is for now. Well, multi-AZ is just, you know, instead of having one database, AWS will create 2 for you. One in one availability zone and one in another availability zone. So that when one database goes down in one AZ, your application will still work, will still be able to write to the other database. So multi-AZ is something that you think about in a production environment. Your company says, hey, at least for resiliency, fault tolerance, and all that, high availability, let's make sure we have 2 AZs at all times, okay? So, but in this case, 1 is fine, okay? It's not going to crash or anything. 1 database is fine for us. We're not going to use multi-AZ. That option, we're not even going to be able to choose here. We're not going to be able to choose multi-AZ option because we chose free tier. So moving on, MySQL is not coming for me. You might have chosen the wrong. I showed again how we went about that. But you can watch the video later on to catch up with that. We really have to move on now. Sorry about that. I showed that again the second time. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. So burstable classes, just leave it at that. It's telling us to choose the instance type. Yes, with RDS, you also have to choose the instance type you want. So we're gonna choose C2 Micro. Okay, remember, but this is a managed database. We're not going to be installing SQL on this machine right here. AWS is going to do all of that for us, and it's going to, handle, backups for us as well. Okay. So in this case, a DB T2 Micro is what we want to choose. Leave that. We didn't change anything there. Leave SSD. Okay, a storage 20 gig for this database is fine. How much? What's it? Think of this as the volume size of your database. Okay, so in here 20 gig, and then here enable storage auto scaling is, let's say like we're adding stuff to the database, right? People are inputting information in the web application, right? It's a form you guys are gonna see. So people are submitting their name and email, and then everything is getting submitted to this database. If this database goes beyond 20 gig, right? If it's getting full, should AWS automatically scale this database for us, right? In this case, we're gonna say no, right? But in reality, maybe your company wants, to have that, that strategy, in place. Like if the database is getting full, then let us automatically grow it, right, to 1,000 gig, to 1 terabyte. But in this case, we're not gonna do that. Let's just uncheck that. Okay, multi-AZ, like I said, you see we're not able to choose that, and you guys know why, because we're using free tier. VPC, let's use the default VPC. We're gonna use the default VPC, leave it at default VPC. In this case, for public access, here's the thing, guys. If you're gonna be using some type of tool, you want to connect to this, your database administrators want to connect to this database, to do some type of maintenance work. There's not a lot they can really do, because this is a managed database service. But if they want to remote in and use tools like MySQL Workbench, right? I know some of you here might know about MySQL Workbench, some other tools that you use to access databases, right? And do like run select statement directly on that database and things like that. You can choose yes here if you want to use those outside tools. If you're not going to be connecting from inside of your VPC, right? You're going to use tools outside, of this VPC network that AWS creates for you. Then you're going to use this. You're going to say public access yes. Okay. So in this case, we're going to say yes. I know some of you might say, why that's not secure, guys. Remember how we created our security groups last time? Okay, we're allowing things. Our database cannot talk to the outside world. It can only talk to what? The web server. Don't forget that. So to some extent here, we're still secure here. Okay, but in real life, in production, there might be reasons why you don't want to do this, because even connecting to the database, you're doing it internally inside of the VPC, using maybe one of your web servers, or using one of a Bastion host that you create. Okay, Don't worry about if you don't know what a bastion host is. But for now, just click yes, because we're secured in. Yes, you can use VPN as well, right? And make it look like your entire AWS and on-premises network is like in one network. Yes, VPN can work as well, right? But in this case, let's just choose yes. Okay, let's choose yes in this case. They want public access. VPC security. Now security group, here's remove this, guys. Remove default, because we don't want to use the default. It's going to allow, you know, from outside. So click on exit. This is why I say we're a little bit we're more secure in this case, even if we choose yes in this case. Okay, so let's remove this right here, and now let's choose what our okay, we never created one before. We never created a database security group, right? Because we never needed a database. Don't worry, guys. Let's do this. Right click on AWS here. Right click on AWS here. Open link in new tab. Let's go and create a database security group. Okay, let us go ahead and create a database security group. Leave that settings as it's going. Leave that settings. Let's go and create a database security group. Look, go ahead and click on EC2. All right, go to EC2. Go to EC2. Click on security groups on the left. Click on security groups on the left. Click on security groups on the left. From last class, we had all of this, and this is the one that comes with your account. And then we created the load balancer security group and the web server security group. So now today, guys, let's do this. Let's create a new one. Let's create a new security group. Okay, let's call it DB security group. DB security group. Okay. And then you can just give the same description. That way we know that this is the security group for our databases. Okay, it's going to be using the same VPC. Now let's add a rule here. Let's add a rule here. Now these database engines, they use ports. Okay, you need to allow some types of, like I always try to make it easy for everyone to understand. There's a door that you need to open to this, whichever engine you're using. Sometimes they have different numbers, right? Or I guess in most cases they have different numbers, right? You need to open a door to be able to what? To talk to the database. For MySQL, that door number is what? Let me see if someone knows it here. And I'm sure one person knows it, or 2 or 3 or 10, right? What's the door we need to open? What is the port number we need to open from MySQL to be able, for your web application to be able to talk? Very good, Rehab. Excellent. 3306. Okay, so here, guys, let's go ahead and choose MySQL. Okay, MySQL, you see it with /Aurora, because Aurora uses the same port as well. So go ahead and choose that, guys. Go ahead and choose that, and it will automatically put the number there for you, 3306. And then here we want to choose our what? Let me see if someone will get it here. Who does our database need to talk to? Our database, who does it need to allow to talk to it? Our load balancer or our web server security group? No, Rehab, not zero. Not zero. That's the world. That's what we want to stay away from. We want to protect this database so that the world cannot attempt to, connect to it, right? Web server, right? So now let's look for our web server security group. Let's choose that. That's what we want, right? That's what we want. You can also add a rule to allow your own computer, right? You can also add a rule to allow your own computer. But remember, you have to choose yes in public in the configuration to allow your own computer from outside of the network. Otherwise, only computers in this VPC, only computers in this VPC in any subnet can talk to this database, right? But only if you're in this security group, only if you're in the web server security group. Don't get confused, guys. Only computers that are part of this web server security group can talk to this database. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on that. So we already added that, and I hope you guys saw how I did that. Let me go ahead and do that again. Choose MySQL and then choose what? Choose web server. Just type web and then look for the web server security group that we created from last class. Select that, right? Only our web server should be able to talk to our database. So don't leave outbound, never touch outbound. And then that's that. Go ahead and click on create security group. And that's it, we're done. Now we can close this EC2 page and then go back here. Okay, and go back here. And then now we're gonna choose, we might have to refresh, guys. We might have to refresh. That's sad news. We might have to refresh. It doesn't have a refresh icon here. If I don't know how to made us create this before. Let me do this first. Let me click outside here. Let me see create new. And then do this. And then let's see if it'll be there now. Still not there. Or the other thing we could have done is create a new. We could have used this console to create it as well. But that's fine. It doesn't hurt, guys. It doesn't hurt. Let's do this. Let's cancel. Let's cancel. Okay, let's cancel. Sorry, guys. Let's just cancel and create again. Okay. I know I try to keep us here for 1 hour, but things happen sometimes. Now it should have picked it up. Okay, so let's just go a little bit faster now. All right, standard MySQL. Okay, we're gonna choose MySQL, standard MySQL. Leave everything else and then choose free tier. We called it app DB, and then I left this as admin, and then I put my okay, and then I put another password. No, the same password. I just confirm, and then T2 micro, and then what else did we change? We left this the same. We changed this, enable auto scaling. We removed that. We already discussed that. Remove that. Default VPC, public, yes. Security group, we're going to remove this default. We're going to choose, now it's there, DB security group. Okay, DB security group. All right, now once you select it, choose outside, because because with this you can choose multiple security groups that you want to allow to talk to the database. We're only going to allow one security group. I'm sorry, we're only going to put this database in one security group, and that is the DB security group. Okay, so go ahead and choose that. And we already know in the back of our mind that this DB security group allows web server security group to talk to it. So here, guys, don't get confused, guys. We're choosing the security group that our database needs to be in. Okay, and that's our DB security group. Let me just make sure. Type the number 7 if you're still with me. Type number 7 if you're still with me. Ah, thank God. Okay. All right, moving on. All right, availability zone. Let's just choose 1A. Choose 1A. Okay, so that way our web server and our database server is all in one place. Okay, in one AZ. Let's see, additional configuration. Yes, leave this port. Don't touch this port because that's the port that we want to use. What else? Leave password authentication. Yes, that's what we want. Let me make sure I remember the name. Okay, my user database is admin. Okay, that's pretty much all, guys. Additional configuration. Leave this, because our developers told us that when we create the database, for the first time, we need to make sure that we initialize the database. Okay, they're giving us an option that, hey, initialize the database once you create it. Okay, we have a script in there. There's a link that you need to go to initialize the database, and that will create a database in there that, you know, people will be submitting information to. So we're not going to create a database in here. We're not going to create a database inside of this database engine that we've chosen. Okay, so that's going to be created with a script. Now leave this. Leave that. Don't change anything in there. Don't add anything in there. And then let's see here. Nothing else. Don't choose any of this. Here it says ensure general flow and all are turned on. Go ahead and check this. Log exports and all that. Maintenance. Leave maintenance. Enable no preference. So you can set a window. Remember, you're not managing this database. AWS is managing it for you. Okay, so in this case now, AWS is asking you, when should we do maintenance on this database? Let's say we need to upgrade the engine, right, to version 8.9 or 8.10. So you can select a window, right? Sometimes, most times in companies who have a production database, they will say, okay, only update on Saturdays at 10 p.m., right? So you have that option here, okay? So here we're just gonna say we don't have a preference because this is a demo, okay? Enable auto minor version, yes, no preference. We don't want to delete protection, no. Let me see, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Backup replication, no, we're not doing that. Backup window, we don't have a preference. And it's going to retain the backup for 7 days. So you can retain backups for up to 35 days, I believe. Yeah, 35 days, okay? So remember, this is a managed database. AWS will be backing up this database for you, but how far back do you want to have it, have these backups, right? So we're choosing 7 days here, okay? So it will retain these backups for 7 days. If your company wants to go back 35 days beyond that, then you can choose 35 days, okay? But just leave it at 7 days here. Let's go ahead and click on create database, guys. Go ahead and click on create database. Okay, go ahead and click on create database. All right. So it's creating. Let's give it some time here. Give it some time. I want us to go back to our drive. Okay, guys, let's go back to our drive. Let's go back to the main page of our drive. We need this code. We need this code, and we need to change this name once we put those files in our S3 bucket. I'm just letting you all know now. So copy this and put it in a notepad. I'm going to copy that, Control C. I'm going to open a new notepad. I'm going to open a text editor. Okay, I'm going to open a text editor. And then I'm going to paste so I can edit. Okay, so go ahead and grab that and put it in a text editor. Okay, we need that. We're going to need that. We're going to need that. All right, so the database takes some time. The database takes some time. It takes some time. Okay, maybe about 5 minutes or so, sometimes less. Depend. As you can see here, it says it's creating. Let's just wait for that. In the meantime, let's click on it. Okay, click on the app DB. All right, what we're waiting for is the endpoint. So once it populates this, we can go ahead and add it to our config file. Okay, we can go ahead and add it to the config file. Okay, is someone on not on mute? I think I can hear some echoes once in a while. Please check if you're not on mute, guys. All right, guys. So now that this is creating, all we're just waiting for now is this endpoint, so we can plug into the config file before we put all of that into the S3 bucket. Okay, before we put all of that into the S3 bucket. Okay. Let me refresh. Let me refresh and see if it's at least giving us the endpoint, because that's the most important thing. The endpoint. The endpoint. Tell me I have it. Not yet. Okay. What can we do? Is someone talking? I think I heard something just now. All right. So in the meantime, let's go and start the process of creating the web server. Okay. In the meantime, let's go ahead and start the process of creating. So I'm just going to right click the AWS icon on the top left here and open a new tab, right? So I can go to EC2 and start creating that server. So go ahead and click on EC2 here. Okay, go to the EC2 console. Now let's create the web server to front this database. Go ahead and click on instances. Go ahead and click on launch instances. Okay. Let me refresh that. Why are you giving that error? Okay. All right. Now I'm going to select this first one, Amazon Linux AMI. Go ahead and select that. Go ahead and select that. T2 Micro. Okay, go ahead and click on configure instance details. Yes, we want one instance. We want network default. Yes. Availability zone, choose 1A. Okay. And then what else? IAM role, S3 and SSM, guys. Remember I said don't delete this one from last class. We're going to always use this from now on. S3 and SSM. So this EC2 can pull that code from S3 once we put it in S3. And also it'll have SSM, so we can use Session Manager to remote into it. Okay, S3 and SSM. What else? Shutdown behavior. Let's change that to terminate. Okay, if we shut down, we want it to terminate the server. We'll never have that server again. Okay. What else? All right, here. Okay, let's just wait. All right, let's go see now if this has been created. I'm just going to click on databases here. I'm going to click on databases here. Let me refresh. Does it say created? Configuring log exports. Okay, it's configuring log exports. Let me open it now. Let me open it again and see if the endpoint is there. Great, our endpoint is there, guys. So AWS has created this database for us, and this is how we can use it in our application. Okay, now we're going to grab this. Okay, we're going to grab this. Okay, now let's go back to the files on our computer. Remember, this is the files that our developers have written for us for this application. This is what we're trying to host. Now the database configuration is put in here. The database configuration, the database credentials is put in here. In real life, this may have already been done for you. So all of these things that we're doing by creating the database ourselves, we're getting experience with what? With how to create a database in the cloud. Okay. So one of the things might be to advise your company on how you can move your databases to the cloud. Now you know how to create a database in the cloud. There are migration services out there to help you migrate. If you already have a database on premises, there are services that can help you migrate a working database to the cloud as well. But in this case, you're getting this hands-on experience of creating database in the cloud. And like I said, in reality, perhaps your developers have already put the link, the information that the application needs to connect to the database. But in this case, we're doing that manually, which is a great thing to to learn as you're learning cloud. Okay. So let's go ahead and edit this configuration file again. Okay. I'm gonna edit now. I'm gonna choose Notepad. Where's Notepad? Open with Notepad. Okay, open with Notepad. So guys, I'm gonna move this to the other screen so I can put my password. Okay, but here's what you just have to do. Here's just what you need to do. You need to copy this code right here, this URL. Okay, copy that, and then in the config file, you need to put it here. Okay, you need to put it here. All right, you change that. All right, you change the host to that. Just please notice what I just did. Just change the host to that. Okay, to your endpoint. All right, now what's the next thing we need to do? The next thing we need to do now is the username and the password. Remember I kept saying you need to remember the username and password. All right, I remember I left mine as admin. Right, so now the password, I'm gonna go move this screen out of here and put my password. So put your password and save this file, and that's all you need to do. Okay, I already put my admin name. Now I'm gonna go and put my password in here, and then I'm gonna save it. Okay, so let me move that out here now and change that to what I've used for my password. I'm just doing it because it's a live class. Okay, I have to hide that. Okay, I'm gonna Control S, save that file. Okay, so guys, what we've just done now is we've added this endpoint in the config file, and we've also put the credentials that is needed, right, to be able to talk to that database. Okay, so now we can now copy all of this and put it in that S3 bucket. So now guys, let me go to my S3 bucket now. Okay, remember we're still inside of that S3 bucket. I hope you didn't close the tab yet. Site with DB is what we call the bucket that we're using for this new application. Okay, so now let's go ahead now, and everything in here now, select all and drop it in your site with DB bucket. Okay, drop it in your site with DB bucket. Once you drop it in there, go ahead and click on upload. Okay, so now it's uploading. All right, it says it's uploaded. I'm gonna go ahead and click on exit now. Okay, so now I have all the files in here, and this config file, we know now that we've already updated it with the database that we created on AWS. Okay, we created the database, guys. That's big. All right, and you can see how easy it was to do in the RDS console. We created a database and we gave this application the database we wanted to use to store our customer information. All right, so now moving on with the EC2 now. Now let's go and change the let's grab the name of the bucket. Where can we let's go to Amazon S3. Click on Amazon S3. Here you see all your buckets. Okay, let's grab the name of the bucket. Site with DB is what the name of the bucket is for me. All right, I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go to what? My EC2 page that I was launching. Remember, we're creating an EC2. Don't forget the EC2 page that we're launching. All right, now in the user data, first and foremost, remember this user data script that we're going to use. Change the bucket name first before you paste it in your EC2 launch page. Okay, change it to be your what? Site with DB. I know it's kind of a lot so far. Who's following me? Type 5 if you're following me. I want to make sure not all of you are confused yet. Okay, good. All right, good. And I hope it's not confusing. I hope you're able to follow, as I'm going. Remember, you're going to have the recording at the end. All right, so site with DB. All right, now we put that in there. Okay, now let's go ahead and copy everything. Control C, copy everything. Okay, and paste it in here. All right, now we know that once this server is created, it's already going to pull those application code into Apache and that way we can see if our website is live or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on add storage, guys. Go ahead and click on add storage. 8 gig. Okay, 8 gig is what we want. Go ahead and click on add tags. Go ahead and click on add tags. Let's add a tag. Let's call this name. Let's call this app with DB. Okay, let's give this server, our web server, let's call it our app with DB. Okay, let's just add this tag to it. So when we go into the console, we're going to see like this app with DB is our web server for our application that connects to a database. Okay, so go ahead and click on configure security group. Now select an existing security group. Which one are we going to use here, guys? Quickly in the chat, which one are we going to use? Which one are we going to use? Web server. All right, web server, we already know that. Web server is what we're going to use. Okay, so go ahead and click on review and launch. Okay, go ahead and click on review and launch. All right, now click on launch. Okay, choose a key pair that you know you have. Choose a key pair that you know you have from last class. All right, I still have this, my web server key. You can create a new one if you want. That's fine. Go ahead and click on check I acknowledge. Check I acknowledge and click on launch instances. Okay, click on launch instances. All right, so this web server is launching. Now, 2 things we've gotten so far with this application that we need. The web server that we need, app with DB, we called it app with DB web server. It's launching now, it's creating. And then remember this application that our company needs to host now also has a database, and we've also created a database, right? And the application code that this web server is going to pull already has the right configuration within the application code itself, right? To get the credential that it needs to talk to the database. Now, guys, in reality, code like this, you don't want to put in public repositories, right? Like GitHub. Why? Because it has the credentials to your database, guys. So for security reasons, there are ways around this that, companies think about, right? Maybe using things like AWS Parameter Store or Secrets Manager. Okay, that's a little advanced in this, but this code, well, of course, we're not going to put it in any public repository. Okay, so we're leaving the credentials in that source code file. Okay, we're leaving the credentials in here because you have your database credentials in here, guys. Don't ever publish this to a GitHub repository. Okay, just think about that. Okay, as you do this in the future, think about this before you push any code to a public repository. For those who work with repositories and GitHub and things like that, before you push a code like this, right? Maybe your company uses, perhaps your company uses a private repository, then you're good. Okay, but in general, it's not a best practice to put your database credentials inside of your application files like this. Okay, especially when you're going to put it in a public repository, especially when you're going to put it in public repository like GitHub. Okay, well, again, of course, unless you're using a private a repository. Okay, did you use the key pair? Yes, I use my own key pair for this server. Okay, all right, guys, the server is running. It's running now. Let's test. They can KMS from AWS for password. I'm not exactly sure how you mean by that, but yeah. Where am I, guys? Okay, the web server. Now we have the web server created. Now let's go see, guys, if we're able to get to the application. Okay, now there's one thing we need to do here, guys. There's one thing we need to do here. The database, we have a database engine, MySQL. We have the credentials, everything is in this server now. Now, but remember, we need to initialize the database. We need to go to a page in this application. Our developers told us that if you create a new database, make sure you initialize it. With that initialization script, it will create a database inside for you that the application needs to talk to, that the application needs to write information to. Okay, this is not usually the case. In reality, this might not be the what's going to happen in reality. In reality, everything might have already been set up for you by the developers. Okay, all you just needed to do was what? Have it on a web server running. But there's a few extra steps here, right? Which allows us to also get a feel of how things might go sometimes in reality. Okay, so in this case, what we're gonna do here now is let's grab the link. Remember, this is the link, right, to this server. Right, this is the link to this server. Okay, this is linked to the server. Our index.html page for this file, guys, is not here. So we need to go to public, and then we need to go to index, right, before we can see the front page of this application. All right, so now go ahead and paste that link to your server in here. You have to do something, guys. The first thing, again, like I said, and I know it's an hour now, but as you know, sometimes you always have to go over an hour. Don't worry, guys, we're almost done. We're almost done. We've uploaded the code to the server. Now the database, we haven't created a database inside of the engine, right? We haven't created a database that the application is going to be writing to, but we do have a database ready, right? But we haven't created a table, right, that is needed, right? So now there's a script in there that's going to create that initial database for us inside of our database. Okay, don't get confused. If some of you have worked with databases before, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, the application, yes, there's a MySQL database, but there's no database in there that's going to write to, right? There's no database with tables in there yet. So our developers still told us that there's a script that we need to run to create that initial database and the tables in there. Okay, that our application is going to start writing to. To cut everything short, right? We need to go to this link, guys. We need to go to /install.php. /install.php. Okay. If you are a little advanced, you want to see what's in there. Let's go back to the folder. Okay. Remember, all of this has already been uploaded to our S3 bucket. So we're just using this to quickly just gain access to it and see the information in there. So go ahead. If you look at install.php, let me open with Notepad. Okay. It has some type of configuration files in there, right? It will grab, the username and password, and it will be able to create the tables that is needed in the database. Okay, so this is all that's in this. All right, let me close that. And then there's something else I wanted to show you guys. Let me see again. Let's see here. It's in a particular file, unless I've forgotten the name of the file. Okay, I'm not gonna open my config.php here, but don't worry. I think it might be this init folder, but don't worry about that. I just wanted to show you guys what the database, what the statement looks like. Okay, but I don't want to, do the, go ahead and search for it now. It might take some time. I forgot exactly where it is. In these files, there is a script in there, right, that has a statement to create the tables, the table that is needed. Right, the database that is needed. Let me say database, right? Remember when we were creating the database, there was a part I said, don't create an initial database yet. I said, leave that blank, because there's something in here that will create that for us, right? And we need to go to a page here, install.php. But before we do this, let's try it first. I don't think this will work yet, because our computer, guys, cannot talk to the database. Why? Because this computer that we're using to talk to this, to access this link needs to do something inside of the database. And that is what? To create the table that is needed in the database. Now, our computer that we're using is not part of the security group that's allowed to talk to the database. So let's quickly change something real quick to allow us to do this, to run this script on the database, so that the table is created, right? So that the database, the initial database that is needed, and the table is created inside of the database. If you do this now, you will get an error message, right? We'll get an error message. It cannot write to it because this computer is not allowed to run a script on the database. Now, to do that, we are going to go to the database security group, and we're going to allow our computer to be able to talk to the database. And that way this will work. Okay. And that way this should work. So let me just go ahead now. Okay. I knew it was going to error out. Let's go now to, let's use this screen. Let's use this page. Let's go to security groups. Okay. Go to security groups. Okay. click on your database security group. Click on this one, DB security group. Okay. All right. Let's see what I'm doing, guys. Click on DB security group. Okay. Now the database is only allowing machines, and the only machine in this security group now is our web server. Okay. Now let's allow ourselves to be able to run that script only. Run that script and we're done. Okay. So let's go ahead and edit inbound rules. Edit inbound rules. Let's add our computer to be able to talk to it. Okay. Let's go ahead and choose MySQL. Where is it? MySQL here. Allow our own computer. Let me make sure I'm on VPN. Let me make sure I'm on VPN. Let me make sure I'm on VPN. Give me 1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay. All right. So here I'm going to choose my IP. Okay. I want my IP to be able to talk to it on this address. Okay. I want my IP to be able to do this. So go ahead and click on save rules. Okay. Go ahead and click on save rules. Go ahead and click on save rules. Okay. Now we're still here. Go back to this tab. Go back to this tab and hit enter. Go back to this tab and hit enter. Let me see here. We might have some troubleshooting to do today, guys, which is good. Which is good. We might have some troubleshooting to do. Oh, someone had success. Sylvia had success. Why is mine still doing this? Why is mine still doing this? Let me make sure something. Yep, it's in here. Who else had success so far? I'm jealous. Who else had success so far? Really? Are you kidding me? What's going on with? What is going on with mine?
Share your screen. Let's see what's going on. You can just try share the screen. Let's see what's
going on. You guys have seen my screen. Are you not seeing my screen? This is my screen right here.
I mean the successful guys. You can.
No.
Let's see what's going on.
I don't think I'm allowing that. My Zoom is not allowing that. I use previous. Oh, okay. All right. So let me see here. It says 404 not found. 404 not found. Okay, good. Troubleshooting is always great, guys. Now, in reality, this happens a lot. Okay, things do not go as you expect. Let me go back and just make sure something. Let me go back to my EC2. Go back to my EC2 console. Let me make sure the security group again picked up the right one. Security groups, DB security group. Okay, allow my IP to talk to you on this. Edit. Let me make sure you picked up the right one, right? My IP. Okay. Save rules. Okay, nothing changed. Cancel. EC2. Where's the EC2 again? Let me go back to instances. Let me go back to instances. Instances. Where's the instance again? This is the instance. Okay. Let me close this. Paste. Let me go to this link first. Public, just to make sure that it actually works. Public.index.php. Okay, this is the home page address for our application. Let me see if that works first. If that works, then there might be some issues first with the. That's also timing out. Okay, so there might be something with my. There might be something with my web server as well. Maybe it's using my previous IP. Okay. All right. No worries, guys. Let me go back. Let me go back to my instances. Let me go to security groups. Look at my web server. Yeah, I think it's using my old address. Let me edit this because my IP changed since last class. Okay. So SSH. SSH. I don't need SSH right now. Let me see. Let's just my IP. HTTP, TPS. It's only allowing, yeah. So let me change this. Let me add a rule for my IP. Okay. Let me add a rule for my IP here. HTTP, let me allow my IP, because we made this a little bit more secure by using load balancer. But today we're not using load balancer, okay? So I need to allow add rule HTTP to my IP, and then allow HTTPS on the web server, because I'm directly accessing the web server in this case. Okay, I'm not going through the load balancer. Okay, remember the web server is only allowing the load balancer to talk to it. So this is a good troubleshooting, thing for you guys to know today, right? As you can see how I'm troubleshooting this now. At the end, we'll try to make sure that this works at the end of the day, okay? So now I'm in my web server security group. Last class, we made our web server security group only allow communication for our load balancer. That's why me going to this link does not work, because the web server is not going to allow this, right? The web server is not going to allow me to talk to it, right? It's only looking for communication from who? From the load balancer security group. So let's just change that for now. Okay, let's add HTTP and HTTPS for our own IP. Okay, so let me add HTTPS as well for my IP. Okay, so guys, I'm doing this on the web server now. Okay, please do this. Okay, just for now. All right, do this for now. All right, add HTTP and add HTTPS for your own IP. All right, so go ahead and click on save. I'm going to go ahead and click on save. Remember, we're doing this for the web server. Go ahead and click on save rules. Okay, go ahead and click on save rules. Okay, now as an outsider, right, but with my own IP, I should be able to talk to this web server now. Okay, but first and foremost, let's initialize the database first. Let's initialize the database first. Let me take a pause, because I know that might have looked a little confusing for some of you. Who is with me so far on what we've done? And you can unmute. It's okay, you can unmute and let me know what folder rewrite required in. I don't know what you mean by that, but is anyone following me so far? Anyone following me so far? Yes. Okay, tap the number 5. Anyone else following me so far? You have an idea? Okay. Okay, good. All right, good. Now we want to allow us to be able to access, the web server and talk to it. That's why we needed to change that security group for now. But from last class, remember how we made it more secure by using, but we're not using load balancer, right? So we kind of just did it manually to allow us to talk to the web server, but in a secure way, not allowing from the world, right? Just allowing our IP to be able to do HTTP and HTTP requests to this web server. So now, guys, let me close this. All we've just done so far is go to your EC2 instances. You have the web server running. First, let's initialize the database. And second, we're going to go to the home page where our end customers are going to have to see 2 pages. Let me actually type that out in a document here, right? I can delete that. We already used that. Now we're going to grab this link right here. Let me just open a notepad, guys. This first link, let's just take a step back. This first link, our developers told us that once you upload the code, you need to run this script first. Okay, you need to run the script first. So /install.php. Okay, go to this folder on the server and use this script to initialize, right, the database, right? Now, the other thing they told us is, now for the public, the home page is inside of a public folder. So for the home page, here's where your customers would need to go to: /public/index.php. Okay, so it has to be this path. So usually in the web application, you already put this link inside of a button that says homepage. Okay, so this is the link that you put inside of that button that has your home page on it. Okay, but let's not go too deep into like your front page and all that. So now these 2 links, guys, first let's do this. Control C that. Let's paste. Worked, right? Database and table users created successfully. Type the number 9 if that worked for you. Type the number 9. Okay, I've only seen one. I want to see two more. Rehab, it worked. Good. MH, it worked. Personal, it worked. Okay, personal Ronnie. All right, good. Now, what's the second one? Now, good. We've adhered to our developers' instruction. They know what they're doing. They told us make sure you run this first. Okay. Now we've ran that. We didn't get any error messages. It said something has been created successfully. Good. Again, guys, I just want to step back a little bit. Sorry about this. In reality, this might not be the case. Okay, but due to the nature of the application that we're using, I could have gone another route and used something like MySQL Workbench to create the database and the users. Okay, but they made it easy for us. I don't have to use a third-party tool, to remote into the database and, write a select statement, or create table statement or user statement. Everything is in one script. I just run that script. They told me it will create the database, the initial database, and the tables in there that is needed, that the application needs to talk to the database. And that's what we've just done. Right, so now I'm going to close that. Okay, I'm going to close that. Now, the second thing again is now the actual homepage to test the application. When people go to our website, this is the link, right? This is the link that will direct to our homepage. And by this, if you've created pages before, if you created website before, if you're creating your homepage button or your homepage link, right, what you put behind that link is what? Is this address right here. If it's for your homepage. For your homepage, this will be the address that you're going to use for the homepage. So let's copy that. All right, now let's go now. Open a new tab and paste that and see what the application looks like. Now this is what the application looks like. I know this is not some type of fancy application that we've been using before, but this is a more sophisticated one, right? It needed a database, and you guys saw how we created that database today. Okay, so now guys, a great job if this worked for you. Mukhtar, please start making these sessions too. I know, I want to, but at the end of the day, maybe 1 hour 30 minutes. Let's just assume now from now on, at least 1 hour 30 minutes, because I think that has been the average so far. 1 hour 30 minutes. Okay. All right, guys. Here it is. It worked. This is the new application our company wanted to host. Now we have it up now. Now again, I'm not gonna put this behind the load balancer or behind auto scaling group. Once you have one server up that has your, just take an AMI and create auto scaling group and put it behind the load balancer and do your minimum, maximum, and desired like we did last class. Okay, but for now, guys, great job. Let's test and see. Let's create a user. Click on create user. Mukhtar, Kabir. Do this, test it. Make sure it can write to the database, guys. Make sure it can write to the database. Put your email there. Put your age. I'm gonna put a wrong age here. Of course, I know you guys can tell I don't look 45. But location, I'm gonna say Virginia. Okay, I'm gonna say Virginia. Okay, I'm gonna submit. Mukhtar successfully added. Okay, Mukhtar successfully added. Guys, it worked. It worked. Okay, so great job, great job, great job. And remember, this writing that I'm doing is being done by the application. The application has the credentials to talk to the database. It's in that config file. Okay, and we as end users, we're allowed to go in our browser to talk to the web server by allowing HTTP and HTTPS to us. Right? If we have a load balancer security group, then this slash will be after the DNS of the load balancer, if that makes sense. If you're following from previous classes, that should make sense. Here, we're using this DNS of the EC2 instance because we're using directly the web server to access it, okay? But if you have it behind the load balancer, that will be the DNS of the load balancer, and then everything else will be how you navigate to the different pages on that server. You guys can unmute now. You guys can unmute now, okay? I'm gonna take only 2 questions. We have, so let's just say we can go till 12:30, okay? We have a couple of minutes. Unmute and ask your question. Not troubleshooting question, guys. You're gonna have the video at the end. So for now, guys, I'm gonna stop the recording. But you guys can ask me questions, career-related questions. If you have to drop, thank you for joining today's session. I hope you learned a lot. I know that was a lot. I didn't learn everything in one day, like I tell you guys. Okay, it takes repetition, and you get used to these things. All right, you have a quick one. What is the quick one? Before a quick one, actually, guys, let's do this. there's a couple of things that you can still do with this application. Okay, you can read with the location. You can search and view results. It'll tell you who is in the database. Back to home, you can delete the user. So this application, our developers built in a way that we can add a user, we can delete a user from this web application. And this is what our customers are doing. They just go to the website, they put their information, and we can see the information in the database. Okay, and we also give them the ability to read the information that's in the database as well, which is not something we'll do in real life, but it's just there as a test, as a demo. Okay, thank you. Yep, thank you. Again, if you have to go, you can go now. If you have any career-related question, you can ask the question now. Thank you guys for joining this session. I know it was a lot, okay, but I hope you learned a lot. Know how to create RDS, know how to connect that, RDS to an application and have the application running and troubleshoot. Okay, I didn't expect that today, but we needed to do some troubleshooting, and we did that, and we got things to work. So great job, guys. Don't ever think things will work 100% in real life. Okay. Sometimes you will need to use Stack Overflow. Does anyone here know Stack Overflow? Okay, good engineers know Stack Overflow. Okay, so put that in your notes. Stack Overflow is a place that you can search for answers, right, for almost anything, right? Of course, IT, development related and all that. All right, so thank you guys. Thank you again. I'll see you all next week. If you have any questions, wait and ask. All right, floor is open for questions. Let's go.